And then I told myself, you know what? I kind of want to push the limits on this because, again, my curiosity. I wanted to see how far ChatGPT can actually go. Like, how much knowledge does this thing have?
Welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Waddell, here to bridge the gap between SEO strategy and real-world business success. Whether you're an entrepreneur, marketer, or SEO enthusiast, this is your place to learn, share, and build a brand that stands out. So grab a coffee or your favorite tea, and let's dive into smarter SEO for your business. I'm glad that you're here with us today. I have a new friend. Her name's Ana de la Cruz. I'm calling her Ana, even though most people call her Anna. She came to me highly recommended from the one and only Celeste Gonzalez. Ana, I'm so glad that you're here today to talk about content, SEO, YouTube. But let's start with your journey. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And tell us, how did you fall into this world of SEO?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Crystal. And shout out to Celeste. Thank you so much for recommending me. I'm so happy to be here. And to answer your question, how did I get started in SEO? Well, I got started in SEO because I struggled to make it in the film industry or TV or production industry after getting laid off from working in radio, Univision Radio. I had to kind of figure out my path. I spent 3 years kind of searching for the opportunity to get into a great studio, to get to a huge corporate media company, but it was a struggle for sure, especially around the rise of streaming services. And so I had to kind of figure it out. And the connections that I made throughout that journey were heavily in the agency side. And so why? Because in media, you got to buy TV spots, or in media, you got to buy radio spots. So who do you buy it from? You buy it from sales teams. And normally those sales teams get those buys from the agencies who have these clients like McDonald's, AutoNation, those big corporate advertisers. And so I made a lot of connections in the agency side, and one thing led to another. I kept being recommended to work in an agency, and I ended up at Publicis first. That was my first full-time. I would say part-time, but still full-time because I was hired as a contractor, but I was working full-time hours. And so I got hired there as a strategist and actually as a media activation specialist. And what that means is you basically handle a lot of the media buys that come in for the Hispanic market. So I was still working in the Hispanic market even after leaving Univision. Again, long story short, from that experience led me to Omnicom, which is another Big Four agency. And then I ended up there as a strategist, which is also managing media budgets. And I kept seeing SEO in those media plans. And I was just like, who is this? Not only did I kept seeing SEO in those media plans, but I also was really gravitated towards that team because they were so kind. They probably were the kindest people in the entire office. It was the weirdest thing. And I was just like, okay, well, they're nice. I also find what they're doing very interesting because I will be sometimes in those meetings. And I was lucky enough that they had an open position for a coordinator. And I had to start from the bottom all over again, which is story of my life. I started as a coordinator, I think it was 2016. And then from 2016 to today, I've been in SEO this entire time and growing and learning and adapting. And it has been an amazing experience. I'm mostly, first and foremost, a content strategist, but over the years, I have grown fond of a lot of technical opportunities to grow in that space as well.
Awesome. And so your formal title is SEO Lead at Chartis, correct?
Yes. So as of today, I'm SEO Lead at Chartis. Shout out to the team out there.
So what is Chartis and what do you do for them currently?
Absolutely. So Chartis is a media agency and we do everything from paid to UX and SEO. We also do a lot of tech and also do some data analytics as well. So we have a really smart, very capable team. And currently right now with the whole AI world, we're also kind of tapping into finding ways that we can be more productive in that space, but also learning and growing in that space. But our main focus is to bring value to our clients and figuring out what that is, even if it's a new platform like LLM or whether it's a new acronym, a new title we want to give to what we're doing already. For us, it doesn't matter. I think what matters to us is like, what what works in establishing ourselves with our clients there. But we continue to innovate. We continue to provide a high level of quality to our clients.
Yeah, that's something I forgot to tell you. We're going to do like a little rapid fire session later, and I'm going to, throw some acronyms at you and see which one your preference. Okay.
For sure.
One of the things that you said before we even jumped into the conversation is that there's more opportunities now for SEOs to develop expertise in different areas than before. And so I'm curious, what are those opportunities and where are those opportunities?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, because I was actually thinking about this. Funny that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about what can SEOs do now that they couldn't do before. And the reason why that question is interesting is because mainly now with AI, there is a lot of question of whether our skills are still valuable in that space. And so when you tell someone, hey, you have more opportunities now than you ever did before, what does that truly mean? Does that mean that the opportunities that currently exist right now can evolve, can become better? And so now you have to kind of find new areas of expertise because you believe the skills that you currently possess are no longer valuable? Or does that mean that the skills that we do possess now have an opportunity to evolve even to better and become more adaptable to this new platform? So I think that there's two avenues you can take. You could evolve in your current state. Right now, I feel like content strategy can definitely evolve in the age of LLMs and AI. And what does that mean? What are the opportunities there? And then there is new skills that you can develop. And a lot of people are moving towards the AI and LLMs and becoming expert in that space. Vibe coding is becoming a great skill to have. I personally have been dabbling in it intensively, almost too much, but I've been enjoying it and I've been trying to be as intentional as possible to not see it as an opportunity to kind of oversell what I'm doing, but to do it in a way that leads to, okay, let's test some things. Let's try to automate some processes. Let's try to figure out efficiency. Let's try to help the client be more productive. Let's try to get content strategies out there or content optimizations out there much more faster. Let's get insights much more faster. So things like that is how I'm thinking of my whole vibe coding experience right now. But I also feel like my current skills in content strategy are definitely going to evolve even to become better. So I don't have to look at what I'm doing right now as like, okay, I already got this. I don't need to worry about that anymore. I think SEOs right now should be looking at their current skills right now and see how those can evolve. How much better can they become now that we have a new platform that is more complex, that is more sophisticated, that doesn't really give us that much data or information that we can really say, hey, this strategy works. A lot of what we're going to be doing in LLMs right now is just testing and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. So that is an opportunity for you to look at your current skills right now and see how they can evolve and adapt to that, but also finding ways to adapt to other skills like vibe coding.
Vibe coding, that's the first time someone has said those two words together on the podcast. So what is vibe coding and why is everybody talking about it?
Sure. Let's talk about something I completely don't know about. And that's what I love about myself, honestly. I am the most unorthodox person in the world. I would jump on something and learn something and still not know what I'm doing halfway through it. But here's my understanding of vibe coding and what I've learned so far with my experience. Basically, vibe coding is just you generating code using LLMs or AI. That's basically how I understand it. And based on my own personal experience, how it's been working. You go in and you type in, hey, I want to code for X, Y, and Z reasons. Here is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is the platform I'm trying to run the screen in, whether it's Terminal on your hardware or whether it's a software like Google Colab or Jupyter. You know what I mean? Like that is basically how you communicate with LLM to get you the code, and then you use that code and you tweak it as you go around. That's basically vibe coding. You're not building the code yourself. You're relying on a platform like LLMs to kind of build the code for you. The sky's the limit at this point. And I can honestly say I've been really excited about that process because as a person who's not really on the technical side, I already kind of explained what my true background is and where I come from and where I got started. And having the opportunity to vibe code has given me a chance to understand things that before I had to go to an expert. And that's not always something you have access to, unfortunately. And this is something that Gus, I forgot his last name, but his first name is Gus. Yes. Thank you so much. He wrote an article about that. And he mentioned himself in the article. It's very difficult sometimes to find somebody that can help you code an idea that you have. And sometimes you have to pay for that kind of service. So it's not always something that you have access to. So I've been really enjoying that experience myself to be able to go into this platform and say, hey, I need a code for this and get it.
That speaks to the entrepreneur heart in me. And I'm going to find that article, read it, and link to it, because so much of what we do when you're building something new is you're forging a path and all you have is an idea. So you don't have an SOP and you don't have a timeline. Brainstorming over here is free when I'm doing it with me, myself, and I. But the moment I bring a professional in, the cost goes way up. That's been one of the biggest struggles, is really fleshing out an idea and making it into something tangible, and doing it in a lean way and an affordable way. I think a lot of great ideas have probably gotten discarded. A lot of problems haven't been solved because of the cost associated with solving it. So that's really exciting. And I love this industry. To come up with a name like vibe coding, I mean, that just makes it seem like so much fun, so cutting edge. And I just want to make a t-shirt.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe when you're doing it. It's a vibe.
I think I'm going to get a shirt that says vibe coded, right?
Cool.
And then the people who know, they'll know.
Oh, they'll know. I'm pretty sure the industry by now knows. But you'd be surprised. A lot of people are really scared of vibe coding.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't feel like this is something that they want to do. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. When I first got started vibe coding, I can't remember exactly how, because I'm a very curious person. Like I said earlier, I sometimes take unorthodox approaches to learning because I'm someone that has to be hands-on. And at the time, I wasn't surrounded by the most technical people, because that is also something that I've noticed in the SEO world as I worked in different agencies. The skill level sometimes changes. Sometimes you're around more content-driven people than you are around more technical-driven people. So at the time, I was surrounded by more content-driven skills. And I knew that this AI LLM thing was going to become a big part of our industry. That was very obvious, especially with the webinars that were coming out around that time when ChatGPT launched. And I think I was talking to Ryan Jones from Razorfish. I was working at Publicis, and Razorfish is part of Publicis. And Ryan Jones, shout out to him, told me, just put the code in ChatGPT, tell it that you want to run it on Google Colab or Jupyter, and it fixes the code for you and you can run it there. I'm like writing it down right away. And I was just like, oh, okay. Oh, you can just do that? And he's like, yeah, you can. If you're not a coder, you know what I mean? He has web developing background, but I didn't. And so he was very encouraging in that way. So I was very happy to have come across him and reached out to him, and he helped me kind of see that perspective. And then that's what I did. And I was amazed at what it was doing. And then I told myself, you know what? I kind of want to push the limits on this because, again, my curiosity. I wanted to see how far ChatGPT can actually go. Like, how much knowledge does this thing have? So I told it, I want to build a chatbot. I want to build something that I could retrieve content from. And it just started telling me what I needed to do. It was daunting, but at the same time, it was so exciting. And I had all the time in the world to do it. Right now, I'm very busy, but at the time, doing a project like that specifically does take time because you have to kind of gather all the data you want to train this chatbot with. And as you're hearing me, you can see that I'm understanding a process of LLM. The training data process of LLM is very important. And you're going to hear that a lot over the years because LLMs need to stay up to date with fresh data. And the fine-tuning that takes to retrain an LLM to have fresh data could be very costly and time-consuming, which is why we're now getting the whole RAG and grounding aspect of it, which now they're relying on these search engines, which is, surprise, surprise, SEO optimized to kind of retrieve a lot of that information.
Okay, so, oh my gosh, you just made my brain go. Because of course I'm like, I want to tell my story. There's two parts of it that you made me remember. One was, okay, when I heard I could create code, I started doing the same thing. But one deficiency that I haven't quite solved for and remembered to solve for was like doing those updates. Because it's one thing to build something, and it's another thing then to refresh that thing, just like you would content or a blog or whatever, and then make sure that it's still timely and as useful as it was when you first created it. That's something that has been a challenge for me, but I did create like a kind of an interactive thing. People search for senior night gifts, and that's how they find me. I make gifts for athletes.
Oh, nice.
If they wore like the number 2, their parents will send me pictures and I'll put their pictures all over the number 2. I use Photoshop. I manufacture these letters and numbers, and then I make giant numbers and I ship them all over the world. That's my business. And so I'm always trying to figure out like, okay, how can I get people to come into my website and make my business, Collage and Wood, synonymous with senior? And one of the things was like a senior night speech. And this is for all my Shopify people out there. So if you can use this, please apply it to your store. But they come looking for some sort of format for a speech. And that's what I created with ChatGPT. You can input the different elements of your person for your speech or your questionnaire or note to your senior and create that. Now, some upgrades to that, I would love to say, oh, you have to give me your email address so that I can send you your finished product or whatever. But right now there's no, paywall or gateway or anything that's preventing people just from accessing it, which is useful, right? But business perspective, there's things that's come after that where I said, ooh, how can I make this more impactful for our business versus just being helpful? So going back to ChatGPT and then trying to modify that code, it's like, again, going on the never-ending to-do list,
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed like with vibe coding, to your point, yes, there is a maintenance that needs to come into it. For example, if you were to ask me, hey, where's that chatbot at right now? It's completed. I did it. It's where in GitHub, and it has not been updated. And ChatGPT went through so many different upgrades. I still haven't run that code into the new upgrades that ChatGPT has made. And I'm pretty sure, even Claude, I'm pretty sure I can now probably go back and try to figure out how to do that project. But honestly, it was just a way of, it started off with me wanting to test the limitations of ChatGPT. How smart is this thing, really?
If you are enjoying this conversation, make sure to join us next week for part 2 with Ana de la Cruz. And while you're here, could you give a rating or a review wherever you're listening to this podcast and help us share this information with more listeners? See you next time.
Before you go, don't forget, if you want to finally feel confident about SEO, check out my new AI SEO Foundations course. In just 7 days, Crystal GPT will guide you step by step to make your website more findable and your business easier to buy from. Ready to get started? Visit SEOin7days.com and let AI make SEO simple. That's SEOin7days.com with the number 7.